Welcome, friends. Welcome to the webinar. We are so happy that you have chosen to join us today for Attract New People to Grow Your Ministry. This webinar is for people who want to grow. So let's look. Clergy, if you are a pastor or clergy, if you're a ministry leader, whether clergy or not, if you are an evangelist, if you are a church executive that works with pastors and local churches or ministries, if you're a passionate member that wants to see your church grow, this webinar is for you. Are you struggling to grow? In this season of social distancing and limited crowds in church buildings, I know a lot of ministries are struggling to grow, but I have good news. Just imagine if you had streams of new people coming to your church or ministry. You would have more than enough finances to push forward the ministry God has given to you. Your own personal growth and competency would rise. And imagine the personal fulfillment of knowing you're doing exactly what God called you to do, to grow his kingdom and to see many people saved in his kingdom. I know that this is what you want. That's why you came to this webinar, and I'm going to deliver some value to you to help you in that regard. My name is Jackson M. Doggette Jr. I am the solutions expert. A few fun facts about me. I am the founder and lead consultant of Apex Leadership Consulting Group, where we dramatically improve individual and organizational effectiveness through executive coaching, keynote speaking, training, and consulting engagements. I am a licensed attorney and I serve as general counsel to a large church group of about 135 churches, 11 private schools, and other auxiliary organizations. So I am very familiar with the intricacies of church and nonprofit organizations. I'm an ordained minister with over 41 years of pastoral experience. I've planted churches, I've started schools, I've pastored churches with literally no members to grow it, and I've pastored churches with over 1,000 members. So I have a wealth of experience that can help you in this process of attracting new people to your ministry. I'm a certified nonprofit executive, certified development executive, certified nonprofit consultant, certified life coach, and I have many other certifications I don't need to tell you about. I'm only telling you these because I want you to know there is some competence, experience, training that comes along with what I'm going to share with you. I serve on the board of the National Association of Nonprofit Organizations and Executives, so I stay on the cutting edge of what's going on. And I'm the author of the book, Retaining the Harvest: How to Attract, Engage, and Keep the People Who Join Your Ministry. What we're going to talk about today is the 5 steps. 5 steps. Now, these are not the only 5, but these are essential 5. 5 steps to attract new people to grow your ministry. I'm going to offer you an opportunity after we do this high-level overview, which is what this automated webinar will be. You will have the opportunity to take a deep dive. So you have the step-by-steps how to actually implement, and you could do it on your own. I will offer that toward the end of this automated webinar. We're going to also offer a special offer, so wait for that. You will be able to ask me questions, even though I am not present in this particular webinar because it's automated. But down under the slides, you will see a questions tab. You can click to email me your questions. I will receive them. I will respond to them. So if during this presentation you have questions, do not hesitate to look below the slides to see the question tab and ask those questions. I also have a short poll that I would ask you to please fill out so that we can get some feedback from you. You can engage a little bit and we'll get to know each other just a little bit through that poll. So let's get started. Your job today is to take notes, whether on your cell phone, excuse me, on paper, on your computer, whatever you do, jot down some notes. You are going to get good information here today, and you'll want to be able to keep it. So jot down those notes. If you look at the funnel for bringing people into your ministry or your church, you need to attract them, you need to engage them, and then you need to keep them. Today, we're only going to talk about how to attract new people to your ministry. I know many ministries are struggling with attracting new people in order for their ministries to grow. So that's why I wrote the book, and that's why I'm doing this webinar. If you have followed Rick Warren, you know that he believes there are 5 groups in every church. I accept that, and we have created a system around those 5 groups: community, crowd, congregation, committed, and core. We're only going to talk about community today, and I'll define community as anybody who has not yet affiliated or interacted with your church or ministry. That means anybody in the whole world. There was a time where people would draw a radius around the building, the church building, and call that the community of the church. Well, in this digital forward ministry age, the community is literally the entire world, but not everybody in the world. Your community is everybody in the world who is most likely to join your ministry. We'll talk about that. That is a very important point. I hope you jot that down. Your community is anybody in the world who is most likely to join your ministry, but they have not interacted with your ministry yet. So let's talk about the 5 steps to attracting new people to grow your ministry. Step number 1, you must create a consistent worship experience. And the key word here is experience. People are having an experience with your church or ministry from a very early stage. Let me explain. When we were in the building, when a person would drive up to your property, the experience has begun. Actually, let me back up and say, when a person leaves their home to come to your church, the experience has begun, because the question is, how easy is it to find your church? Once they get to the property, what is the impression that they are getting when they first take a look at your property? Is it well manicured and kept? Is the grass overgrown? Are shingles falling off the roof? What is the physical environment that they are experiencing? Is it easy for a guest to find a parking spot? I know on the East Coast, a lot of churches simply do not have parking, a parking lot. So people have to find a park wherever they can find it. What have you done in the physical situation to make it easy for a guest to park their car? The experience is happening. When they get to the building, do they know which door to go into? When they get in the door, do they know how to get to the bathroom? When they get out of the bathroom, do they know how to get into whatever room is next that they're supposed to be experiencing? My point is, there's an experience. Now, in the digital forward ministry, they are also having an experience. The first experience is, how easy is it to find you? When a person is Googling for a church, how easy is it for them to find your church or your ministry? How easy? I can tell you from my own experience, and I am looking for churches all the time. I'm in live streams all the time, and I can tell you most of the experience is not good. What I mean is, it takes a while to find the church, even when I know what church I'm looking for. When I find their website, I notice the website has old information on it, 2-3-year-old announcements of programs that happened a long time ago. It's obvious the church is not taking care of its digital assets, and the experience is not good. When I'm trying to find the live stream, and I do this every weekend, it's hard to find where you're live streaming. If you're not a member of that church, sometimes it's difficult to find how do I see the live stream, even when I finally find the website. So it's important. You must make it easy for people to find you. That is the beginning of the experience. Before they even find you, they are experiencing you. So make it easy for them to find you. Secondly, you need to know your target. What is the avatar? What is the most likely person to join your ministry? A clue is if you look into your membership right now, you will be able to determine who the most likely person is who will come to this ministry and feel like it's their church home, their church family, because they're looking for people that have characteristics like them. We're going to take a deep dive into that when you come to the deep dive opportunity that I'm going to give you toward the end of this webinar. But that is very important. Now, this experience building is before you even start trying to attract anybody. The third thing is you must be community focused. When you are doing your live stream, you must consider you're doing it for the people who do not know you yet. Your members can have other opportunities to fellowship and see each other on Zoom, but Zoom is not the place for your primary worship experience for a guest who does not know you. I have watched Zoom worship services where I see people in their robes and curlers and eating their breakfast with their mouth open, and all of that during the worship service is very distracting. People forget to mute their mic, so there's all kinds of background noise. That's fine for your members because your members want to interact with each other. But that's not fine for a guest who does not know you yet. The primary worship experience ought to connect them to God and make them want to connect to you. Now, once they're there, you can invite them into other fellowship opportunities, and we'll talk about that in the deep dive. But you've got to get them there first and then help them to have an experience that draws them and makes them want to come back for more. So that's step number one, create that worship experience. Step number two, you need to have church management software. I've pastored churches for over 41 years, and most churches do not have church management software. I know the Seventh-day Adventist denomination has eAdventist. That is not what I'm talking about. eAdventist is good for reporting membership and other things, but a real church management software helps you with communications with guests and members. So you need a strong communication tool so that you can email, text, blast, newsletters, blogs, all kinds of things that you will need in the quest to attract people to your ministry so you can grow it. But it has to have a strong communications component. The second thing is people need, particularly in this digital forward ministry age, to have a way to contribute to worthy causes within your church or ministries that are making a difference. They need to be able to do it online and by text. People give that way now, online and by text. Of course, you can also have an address where they can send checks for those who want to do it that way, but you must have the option to give online and by text. And if you have certain church management software, it will send the year-end receipt for their tax return automatically without input from your treasurer. So that's a great advantage. And we'll talk about that software in the deep dive. Integration. You want to make your work efficient. So church management software should make your work efficient. So if you do a sermon, it ought to populate to your website. It ought to populate to a podcast if that's what you want to do. Your newsletter ought to be able to be sent out to the people you want to send it out to on a schedule that you want to send it, your blog posts, etc. All of these things, and can even send it out to your social media platforms. Your church management software can help you to be efficient. So step number 2, before you even start trying to attract new people to grow your ministry, you need to have an infrastructure that's designed to communicate with them, give them the opportunity to donate in a digital and analog way. And it must be integrated so that you are efficient in the work that you do, from sermon preparation all the way to discipling people. So we'll talk about that in the deep dive. Step number 3, I cannot tell you how many live streams I've been on the weekends where you go through a whole worship service and no guest is ever acknowledged. Now, past acknowledging the fact guests are there, what have you done to capture contact information? You must have a way to get the guest to identify themselves comfortably and give their name and email address at least, so you have the opportunity to begin the relationship that allows you to earn the right to invite them to be part of your ministry. So you must have a way to capture it. I see so many live streams where guests are not even acknowledged, much less getting contact information. The second thing you need to do once you get the contact information is put it into your church management software. It doesn't do you any good. I can tell you how many churches I've been to where they have this guest book. Have you seen the guest book? And greeters and ushers are diligent in getting every guest that came into the building in that book. But at the end of service, they would close the book, put it in a drawer, and then the next week they'd pull it out and be very diligent in getting people to sign the book. But they never did anything with the names. Literally, they'd fill up the book, throw that book away, buy a new book, and fill that book up, and never use the names for anything. And this church would do evangelistic outreach and all kinds of ministry outreach and never look at those names. So the third thing you need to do, once you capture the contact information and you put it in your church management software, you need to use it. Churches and ministries are in the people business. Your inventory is people. Your product is people. Your goal as a ministry is to follow what Jesus said and make disciples of Jesus Christ. But you do that with people. And if you're capturing the information and putting it in the church management software, you need to put it to use so you can develop relationships with people to earn the right to ask them to join your ministry. Now that we've done those 3 things, we have constructed a consistent worship experience. We have selected and deployed our church management software. We have a system, a way of gathering and documenting the guests that actually interact with us. For after all, if you're trying to attract new people, you want to begin interacting. Once we've done all of that, now we can begin to talk about a system for attracting guests. And I'm going to give you just 3 simple things that you can do to attract new people to grow your ministry. Number 1, and the most important way, in my opinion, is for the current members to enthusiastically invite people who have not interacted with your church or ministry to come and enjoy what they're enjoying. If your members are not enthusiastically inviting the people in their spheres of influence, at work, at school, in the community, in the activities that they do in their daily life, if they're not doing it, there are some problems. And when we get to the deep dive, we are going to talk about those problems and how to overcome those problems. But it is vital that the current members are enthusiastically inviting others to come into the ministry, to get attached to the ministry, to interact with the ministry. If this is not happening, there's a problem. You need to uncover the problem and solve the problem. And we'll tell you how you can do that. Number two, you have digital assets. You have a website, no doubt. You have social media platforms, no doubt. Most churches do. But as I said, most churches do not take advantage of them. Websites should be strategically designed for guests in a specific way. And we'll talk about that in the deep dive. Again, I've seen so many websites that are just difficult to navigate. I can't find what I'm looking for. I'm trying to get on your worship service, can't find how to get on. It's a problem. And your social media, most of it, it's things that are not helpful to attract people to the ministry. Often it's just members talking to members in various ways. And that's not attracting new people. We want to show you how to actually use your digital assets to attract new people who are likely to join your ministry. And then something most churches probably never thought of is the strategic use of ads. And I'm not going to get into it now, but in the deep dive, we'll talk about how you can actually use ads to find specific targeted people who are most likely to come and interact with your ministry. So those are three things that you could put into practice right now. Have your current members invite those people in their own spheres of influence to come and see what they're there, so they must like something about it. You've got to pull that out and help them to share it. You must use your digital assets, and you might decide that it's worth it to have a strategic use of ads. We'll talk about all of that in the deep dive. Now, the fifth step, something that most churches, again, do not even think about, much less do, is to construct a pathway. What I mean is guests must know how to matriculate once they interact with your ministry. That means, as a guest, how do I interact? I found the live stream, or a member has invited me to the live stream, has given me the link where I can easily find it. And I'm now on. What do I do now? Let's say that they have watched or participated in the worship service and other opportunities that you make available to them, and they now want to be a member. How do they become a member? If they want to become engaged in one of the ministries, let's say you're giving out food in this food insecure time, and they are passionate about helping people who need food, and they're not a member yet. Can they participate? If so, how do they participate? How do they let you know they want to participate? Let's say they're in the ministry and they want to become a leader. How do they become a leader? You must document how people matriculate in your ministry from a guest. And I'm talking about before they even see your live stream. There needs to be documentation that's easily accessible with signposts, so people know, if I want information, here's where I start to look for information. Maybe it's on your website. Here's where I look to find the information I'm looking for about this congregation, about this ministry. Here's where I find, if I want to participate, the information that tells me how, if I can, and how I can, if possible. You must create a clearly marked pathway for people to matriculate in your ministry. If you want, once you have given all that effort to attract them, you want to make it easy to engage them. So it is important that you construct this pathway. Now, we have talked about 5 steps to attract new people to grow your ministry. I am offering you a deep dive opportunity. If you look below this slide, you will see that there is an offer. You can see that offer, or you should have seen a banner come across that says offer. Click that, and you will be able to see how to participate in the deep dive. In that deep dive, we're going to go over these 5 steps in detail so that you can actually write down a roadmap for using each of these steps. How do I implement these steps? We're going to give you the information so you're able to do that. We're going to do it in a live webinar. I will be there with you. We will interact together. You will be able to ask me questions live. I will answer those questions. You can chat. We will talk back and forth. We're going to have a good time as we show you step by step in detail how to implement these 5 steps that we gave this high level overview of today. So I'm just going over those here so you can see what we talked about, and you can review this automated webinar and get these notes. But be ready to participate in the deep dive, because the result you can expect is a steady flow of people most likely to join your ministry at a cost much less than the traditional evangelistic effort to grow your ministry. I have done evangelistic efforts, and I can tell you they can be very expensive. And the return on investment, when you look at it from those who have joined and those who actually have stayed, could be questionable. So what I'm proposing to give you here is a way to do this effectively. Here's what some clients have said. What I like about Jackson is how he is able to contextualize his expertise. What he does works, but more important to me, what he does works in my context. He is honest, direct, and inspiring. I look forward to our continued association for even more spectacular results. This is from Dr. Colby Matlock, who is a pastor that we have worked with. I promised you a special offer, and here it is. We are going to have a special 6-session group coaching. It will be January 25 to March 1, 2021. That will be our first group that we will do a session with to help attract new people to grow your ministry. I'm going to ask you to secure your spot because the spots are limited. This will be weekly coaching, and there will be many benefits. We'll talk about that. If you come to the deep dive, we will actually get into what you can expect more at the deep dive. But here I just wanted to offer it to you to let you know it's available. What you can expect from this special offer of group coaching is you will be able to implement these 5 steps faster and easier. Now, in the deep dive, I'm going to give you the information. But in the group coaching, I'm going to help you utilize it to get faster results easier. That's what we are looking to help you to do. This special webinar offer is just a single payment of $1,215. Normally, it's a $4,500 group coaching session. Those 6 sessions would normally be $4,500, but because you've come to this automated webinar, we are offering it to you for just $1,215, far less than what you would spend on an evangelistic meeting with, I can dare say, far greater results, because you'll be able to use this information for the rest of your ministry, and you can bring in as many people as you want to. My guarantee is if you're in this group coaching, I will continue to coach you until you have at least 100 new people who are most likely to join your ministry. Now, I say this because I'm aware of other organizations that offer to give you names so you can do Bible studies and get people into your church. And what I've discovered is a lot of times the people's names that you get are not people who are most likely to join your ministry, because it doesn't have anything to do with the avatar or the target that you are going for. You're just paying money to get names. What we're talking about here is a system that will allow you to get the people that are most likely to join your ministry. And my guarantee to you is, if you're in the group coaching, I will guarantee you at least 100 new people who are most likely to join your ministry. That's what we will do. Let's look at what another client says. I have worked with Jackson on issues of sustainability and viability in the church where I pastor. He is super competent, honest, and a nice guy. His ability to see and resolve problems is extraordinary, as is his proficiency for helping people grasp alternative ways of thinking through issues. If you ever have an opportunity to work with Jackson, do it. That's from Dr. David Defoe, who is a pastor, and I appreciate his compliment on what we were able to do as we worked with him. Remember, if you have any questions, look below the slides. Click on the button that allows you to ask questions. They will be emailed to me. I will get them. I will respond to them. And I look forward to your questions. Also, remember to register for the deep dive. See below under the offer tab how to register for this free deep dive, where we will give you the information so you're able to actually implement on your own. I am offering the group coaching because I know how difficult it can be to implement in a established ministry or church. And I have been able to overcome the hurdles that I know will be there. So that's why I'm offering the group coaching. And I'll guarantee that you'll get at least 100 new people who are most likely to join your ministry. As a bonus for having stayed with me through this entire automated webinar, I'm going to offer my book. Instead of for the list price of $29.99, just $18. You can look below and click on there and take advantage of that if you like. And now I simply say thank you. Thank you for attending today. I know you got value. I don't hope you have value. I know you got value, and I know you can use what you got, but it was such a high level. I strongly recommend you come to the deep dive so you can see how to actually step by step implement what we talked about here today. Attract new people to grow your ministry. If you have more questions, remember, you can get in touch with me. Write down my email address in case you can't find it after you check out of this webinar or you lose the link for the replay. Just call me, email me at jdoggettejr@apexlcg.com. I'll be happy to communicate, answer your questions. But until we meet again at the deep dive, God bless you and God bless your ministry.